Yeah, Stefan, Schurig from the World Future Council. This has been a very exciting day again. Some told me during the last hours from the negotiations in the conference center in Nusa Dua, it was a drama written by Shakespeare.
Yes, indeed. I heard so too, that there were some politicians really in tears. So, in fact, it was obviously a showdown of what has been negotiated during the 2 weeks. And, the result needs to be judged now.
So I must admit, already yesterday, really disappointed, deeply disappointed, when I learned that it is such a big problem to keep the targets and the years as recommended by IPCC in the resolution.
Well, in fact, I see it on 2 layers. The first layer is if you really judge the result, the outcome, the basic outcome. There one has to state absolutely clear that it's far from what is necessary. If you see the scientific facts that are even worse than the IPCC predicts, and already the IPCC acknowledgements are really critical. So if you regard the scientific facts, one has to make absolutely clear that the outcome is far from what has been necessary. The second layer is what is the underlying issue here, and it became apparent that that there's no trust at all from the developing countries towards the developed countries. And I think this also became clear in the showdown now. The developing country deeply mistrust the developed country, and in particular the US, and I think this is by purpose.
So this was, in a way, a red line which went through all the days since the high-level segment of the negotiations had started. But also for me, it seems it was quite a success that the United States, in the end, could not split the developing world and the EU and other major industrialized countries.
Absolutely. I think the US desperately tried to blame the UN and actually doubted the UN to be the deciding body for the international climate negotiations. And they failed. They absolutely failed. The opposite is the case. This debate showed that if the US wouldn't have blocked everything, would have taken a ritual opposition towards everything, the UN actually would have reached very much on this Bali negotiations, and I think the outcome shows that that the UN is actually the right body to hold these negotiations. And as soon as the very conservative US government, and one has to state clear that they're not speaking for the country, they're not speaking for the people in the US, because there is very much going on. So as soon as this government will disappear, we will take much further steps, I think.
So at the end of the COP-MOP meeting in Bali, we have a weak text, but commitments to the process.
I think it's a very weak text, unfortunately, but the UN got strengthened by these negotiations. This is what my outcome is, my personal result is, and we also have some work to do. It became apparent, as I said, that there's still a big mistrust from the developing countries, and I think the EU provided a very good role here, played a very, very good role also towards the developing countries. I think the developing countries have learned to actually trust the EU as one of the industrialized regions they can actually rely to.
But this situation, so United States in complete isolation, This is my impression, at least. But the EU in a key role. This means the EU must much more deliver than they did until now. So the next year until Poznan and the year between Poznan and meeting in Copenhagen, COPMOP meeting in Copenhagen, this have to be some very, very busy years. The EU must deliver on technology transfer. They must deliver on the question what means sustainable technology, and they have to deliver on the question of financial instruments. So a lot of things to do, and good job in Bali, but hard work in front of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and of course they also have to do their own homework. They have to reduce their own emissions. They promised, but I'm optimistic that if politicians play a strong role, I really rely on them that they're now doing their homework.
So thank you that you trust in us, and I must say it's really it's light and shadow, and it depends now really on some people to drive the whole process, and we will see.